Bumper was an early suborbital rocket built by the United States Army in the late 1940s. Bumper was a combination of the German V-2 missile and the American WAC-Corporal sounding rocket. The rocket was designed to test techniques for staging and separation of rockets at high speeds. Staging on Bumper was accomplished by the V-2 first stage sending a signal to the WAC-Corporal upper stage after a predetermined speed was reached. The signal told the WAC to ignite its engine. The exhaust from the WAC-Corporal engine would burn through a wire. Once this wire was cut, the V-2 would be sent a signal to shut down its engine, allowing the upper stage WAC-Corporal to slide out of the tube holding it in place. This solution was much simpler than the staging mechanisms used on larger rockets, which often involve more complex pyrotechnic devices for stage separation. A total of 8 Bumper rockets were launched. The first 6 flights were conducted at White Sands Missile Range starting in 1948. Flight 5 was the first fully successful launch, reaching an altitude of 393 kilometers, breaking the record for highest altitude flight of any man-made object. The last 2 flights took place at Cape Canaveral in 1950. Both of these flights were low-angle atmospheric tests and only reached an altitude of about 16 kilometers. But they both flew over 300 kilometers downrange over the Atlantic Ocean. These launches were intended to test flight characteristics at hypersonic speeds. Bumper was also the first rocket to ever be launched from Cape Canaveral. The first stage of Bumper was a modified V-2, using parts designed by Nazi scientists, which were captured by American forces during World War II. The stage burned liquid oxygen and ethanol and produced about 260 kilonewtons of thrust. The second stage was an American WAC-Corporal sounding rocket. The stage burned a hypergolic propellant combination of nitric acid and aniline and produced only 6.7 kilonewtons of thrust. Several companies were contracted by the Army to create Bumper. General Electric was given control over the program, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory was given the task of designing the staging mechanism, and the Douglas Aircraft Company fabricated most of the rocket's parts. Bumper successfully proved that staging could be used to gain higher speeds needed for high altitude and eventually orbital spaceflight, and was an important part of the early space race.